Hey guys, we've got something a little bit different, a little bit special for you today. This 458 came in with the Liberty Walk kit and everything already fitted, already done, ready to go. Stunning car, looks beautiful. One of the major drawbacks was with this kit being obviously so low and so wide and so much further forward. Unfortunately, this car wasn't spec'd with a nose lift. So with the ride height being set where it is, drives great, has no issues at all, but as soon as you get to a speed bump, driveway, apartment building, whatever it might be, there's just no way you can creepy crawl this thing into that parking lot. So initially we were commissioned to have a look and try and find a nose lift option for it, which there is. By the time we priced up that option and looked at putting it in, we were going to get no difference in ride height or gain, whether that be up or down, where it already sat on the original coilovers. The other thing that would have been a slight drawback for that is this kit, obviously when it's rendered and designed and drawn up to begin with, is drawn up for the most part always bagged. So when you see the renders, when they designed the kit, it was either on the floor with a slightly smaller tyre setup, or you had that racetrack, no camber, straight up and down semi-slick profile. So seeing as this was already set up with the wheels and tyres how it was, the last thing it needed was that full range of height. So actually be able to get into a driveway, and then once you get somewhere, drop it down, snap everyone's necks as soon as the thing dumps on the floor and grabs a hell of a lot of attention. Knowing what this car was going to have, what it was going to be used for, the customer was kind of saying, look, if I'm going to do it, let's just do it properly, which is always the ideal scenario. So we managed to supply something quite cool for it, which is a two-way fully adjustable nitrogen gas-filled air suspension for it. Not something you'll see very often, or it's never really going to come up. It's not really on the market per se. So that was made and spec'd and built specifically for this model. The cool thing with that is it gives you more adjustment over the OEM. We've gone for an airlift system with this car with height sensors the whole way around. Quite a few benefits to that with the suspension setup. We've managed to record exactly how this car drove and came in standard, both in the bumpy road setting and in your standard shock modes. With that, we've then kept all that data, kept the ride heights, kept the alignment calibration, and then thrown that back into the new setup. So in this new setup, at our ride height, which is height-based, jump in the car, start it, straight up to ride height, extremely accurately, generally within like 2 or 3 mil. It'll stay at that ride height where we've aligned it. We've put in race shims the whole way around. We've spec'd that alignment to be exactly how we want it to be. Again, slight improvement over it was as a road setup. With these shocks, it means we do quite a lot of testing before the car leaves. So we're up on slow, fast, bumpy and soft roads and trying to get a good idea of where's the happy median in the middle. But we've set the compression and rebound exactly where it needs to be for this car. So that now means that when you go out and take it for a drive down the road, it actually handles better in some cases than the original suspension. The OEM has its time and place, the aftermarket also has its time and place. So we've set it up to where it's going to be used, and it can still be adjusted from that if we decide to go track day, if it's going to be at a show, whatever, it's all covered.
So just touching base on the smaller, finer details of this car. So basically Sergio has gone and designed and printed these little height sensor brackets. There's 3D printed components throughout the whole car. For example, airline holders which clamp onto the arm, so you can secure the airline properly but not have to drill into the car, because obviously it's a Ferrari, so the less holes we put into it, the better. The height sensor mount that you would have seen in the video before is a prototype, hence why it's grey. The final product will be like the one I'm holding here. It is a glass fiber reinforced plastic. It is more heat resistant, and it's also a lot more resistant to, I guess you could say, minor impact. So it will be less inclined to snap, just adding to that reliability factor of the whole system. The last thing you want is for client to hit a bump, his height sensor bracket to snap, and the car not to know what's going on. Everything in this car is done taking in consideration the fact that it is a Ferrari, and whether we're bagging a Ferrari or any other car, we try to retain that OEM feel. So for example, line placement, how we run the wiring, you'll see in some of the videos that you can't really even tell the difference between an OEM line running underneath the car and our lines running underneath the car. It's just because we go the extra mile to try and make it look like it's supposed to be there. The last thing we want to do is bag this car and then the guy goes out and it drives like a horse carriage. We still want it to have the performance that the car was designed to initially have. We still want the car to drive comfortable. We still want all of those elements, and that's how we ended up here. This gives you an idea of where center of wheel would be on this vehicle and how far the front end actually sticks out in front. So when your dive plane hits, you're going to hit well before your wheel even gives you any form of nose pickup. So air suspension was the only way to go with this car, unless you did a nose lift, but still that doesn't give you the ultimate package this does. And then the added benefit of air suspension is the car will lay out. So it will put this diffuser on the ground, it will tuck the tire into the guard, and it will just look absolutely killer. Moving along to the front of the car, we've got the Frunk area. So the idea that we always have with a car is usability and practicality, and you don't bag your car to lose either of those factors. You bag your car to retain the usability of it and the practicality of it. So instead of completely taking over the Frunk and leaving no space for him to use, because I mean we're limited anyway because engine in the back and this is your only area to put anything. We sat down, we thought about it, and we're making a 3mm plate which will bolt to the rail behind this panel. Behind here you've got your power steering rack, you've got your heater core, you've got a whole bunch of things going on, and then you've got the actual frame of the vehicle to take into consideration too. So making that plate that bolts to that has an allocation for the airlines to come through, which Serge has 3D printed a panel so they come out nice and uniform, just means we can mount mostly everything to the back portion, keeping the front of the Frunk usable, but also keeping some depth to it. The manifold will be mounted to the base with a laser cut panel that we'll put underneath the carpet, and then the compressor will be elevated on some billet blocks so that the airlines can run underneath it and through the panel. This retains a nice simplistic install, but at the same time having your manifold mounted and your tank, your compressor above it, and then your tank mounted as per here, just means everything is in one area, it's isolated, and you're not taking over the entire Frunk space. We went along with what Ferrari did. So we've got the tank, which is of this size. It has these brackets which hold it. So in essence, to retain a bit of that OEM Ferrari-ness, we tracked down some belts which have a similar buckle, a real old school style. This will wrap around the bracket, it's the same size as the bracket. It'll be trimmed down, but essentially the tank will be solid mounted via these brackets through the Frunk to a panel that's bolted to the frame of the car. But your visual aesthetic will be that like Ferrari heritage from like the 512 BBIs and everything, and they've been using belts for years. So we thought we'd keep that tied in. This will be powder coated in a nice satin black. And then we're going to try to find a material that suits the factory Ferrari bags and have it stitched in the same font, but it'll say auto stance and not Ferrari throughout the middle of the tank, so that everything looks like it was meant to be there. Everything will have a purpose, but everything will still be aesthetically pleasing and look factory, which is nice.
Now that the car is all assembled, we'll look at the front setup. Now that we got the cover off, you can see all the components in here. Everything's tightly packaged, but it's still easily serviceable. There's a custom 3D printed bulkhead that houses the plug for the compressor and wraps the air lines neatly to where they need to go. Silent compressor as well, so you can't hear it operating even with the car off. Got a Schrader valve as needed for cert. Also, if his compressor stops working all of a sudden, he can fill the tank up with his air pump over there and go wherever he needs to go. Pretty happy how it's turned out. Everything looks OEM plus, kind of keeping the balance of form and function. Now that we're in the car, we can talk about the controller mount. Not a lot of room to put a controller other than this pocket in there, but kind of need to put your stuff somewhere. So this is the best solution we came up with. It's easy enough to access, and with a sturdy mount, you can still press the buttons and not worry about it falling off. So with the custom made bracket, the wiring tucks in behind this panel, so you can't really see any wiring. By having the controller here, it kind of ties in with the other factory screens, and it just keeps everything tidy.
As we always do, we've taken an OEM consideration into this build. So with the way that we run the airlines, with the way that we've run the wiring, the harnesses, all the connectors, the touch points, the sensors, everything's done as much or better than we can to OE. So the way the lines are run is all away from your heat sources. That could be radiator lines, could be brake air ducts, there's hot oil lines on these cars. There's quite a lot to consider in where everything's routed and run. So we take that into consideration. The whole car gets stripped down. We go through and we decide, yep, that's where we're going to run the lines. That's going to be the safest option. We do have quite a strict control, both Australia and New Zealand's probably the strictest for modification in general. And that goes down into the same with our installs. So we do have to do things to meet certain standards, which is great. It means the build, it pushes you, I suppose, at the end of the day to get it done to a really high level. We're really happy with this and the way that it's done. It's every single line has a thought process behind it. So we don't just go and run a fitting there for no reason. We think about the end goal, like, are we running this the entire way down the car to that strut? Do we want any joins? No. So if possible, we'll route that the whole way through and we'll leave every connection as minimalist as possible. The guys have shown you through how we've hidden everything in the front and the bulk install, bulkheads, fittings, valves, and why we've done it the way we have. The cool thing with the Airlift systems is this has lifetime updates. So throughout the life of the car, every time you connect through the app on your phone, if an update's available, it's going to tell you. Connect to the car, let it sit in the garage for 10 minutes and do its new calibration and update, and you'll get all of those new features as they come out. So it's a really good system to stand by and fit in the car, and we generally have no issues with them. They're really great to deal with, so it just makes sense to use that in one of these. So we're super pleased with how this thing's turned out. Really couldn't be happier with everything. So the way the quality of the fit and finish, the controller, the way it's hidden, the front mount, I don't know if you've heard the compressor running, but the compressor runs completely silently. The air out height is impeccable. We've got the clearance basically to as low as we can the whole way throughout the car without scraping and touching and bending and twisting. That ride height is exactly where it was when it came in. We've set that all up to OEM, got the adjustment, got the dampening exactly where it needs to be. Then that speed bump height suddenly gives us 140 mm ground clearance. So We wouldn't have even got that if we had the hydraulic lift in the front anyway. The nose lift typically is about a 25mm lift, not very much on the front axle. So we've now got more lift, no extra additional noise. I'm just pumped. It looks insane. Like this, even if it was a stock body, I would have still said that's the route to go down. But with the kit, everything fitted on, the wing, the wheels, how it's all come together, the black on black theme, it's been thrown through onto the tank, the Frunk install, like it's just impeccable. So really proud to be able to bring something like this to our country, for people to see, experience, see the way that we do things and see the install. And also for the owner to now have that extra usability out of his weekend supercar toy. So thank you for watching and seeing this episode. We're super proud with how this thing's turned out. If you're ready for more of this to come and want to see what else we're working on in the background still, make sure you should like and subscribe, share it with your friends, post it up, let us know what you think in the comments, and we'll catch you in the next one.